Today's video is sponsored by Forever Pick, exotic wood guitar picks. Handmade one at a time in Chicago, Illinois, you can choose from a selection of exotic woods that will actually improve your guitar's tone. Take advantage of an exclusive 25% off coupon when you buy the full 6-pack at the link in the description. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel, and I sure appreciate it.
Hey y'all, it's Shitpost Friday.
Hello fillies and fellers, Brad the Guitologist here. It is time again for Shitpost Friday. First up in Shitpost Friday, we have lost a true great, a true icon of country music, of guitar shredderdom, of all things guitar in general, Roy Clark. The man was an absolute god of the sixth string, and if you have not had the pleasure of listening to Roy Clark at any length, please go do so right now. As a matter of fact, just click off of this video because this is a shit video. Go watch some Roy Clark for a little while and you will thank me for it. Just an absolute genius. The guy could play the hell out of just about any style as well. Of course, his main style was country music. That's what he was most famous in. You know, did a lot of chicken picking type stuff. He was right up there with the greats in chicken picking. You know, Jerry Reed. And people like this. He could keep up with just about anybody as far as that goes. He was a virtuoso in bluegrass music. He was a flat picking genius. He played the banjo. He could play the hell out of a banjo. He could play classical guitar. He could play flamenco guitar. The guy was just an absolute god, and it's a real sad day. Of course, he was 85 years old, so he did have a nice long life, and thankfully that was the case. But you know, he's going to be missed, man. That guy was he was an absolute shredder. Half of the guitarists that we seem to worship today as virtuosos aren't even a hair on the nutsack of Roy Clark. I don't think I'm exaggerating here. Honestly, I think a lot of the guitar players that we look up to just couldn't hold their own against Roy Clark. I mean, you give Yngwie Malmsteen a banjo, and that motherfucker's not going to know what the hell he's doing with the thing, probably. You know, he may play some... He's probably going to sweep on the banjo just like he does on the guitar, would be my guess. But Roy Clark, he knows how to play these instruments, and he knows how to play all these different styles to a T. And he's among the best. He was among the best, rather, in just about anything he tried to do. And I've got a couple of his albums that are in my collection, Super Pickers, and this volume 1 of his greatest hits. Both good albums. I wish I had more of his stuff, but yeah, man, just incredible player. It's a really sad loss, but again, you know, the man was 85 years old, so he lived a nice long life, and that's good. That's great. Our condolences to his family. Next up in the news, I wanted to show you this. I ran across this little story about a guy having his guitar returned after 35 years. Check it out.
More than 3 decades have passed now since a guy named Cal Dennison, a Joplin, Missouri man, pawned away his beloved guitar.
Well, Ralph, when Cal Dennison was 17, his parents bought him an expensive Gretsch brand guitar. 12 years later, his daughter broke her glasses, and he was forced to pawn the guitar to be able to afford new ones. It has been over 30 years since Cal Dennison pawned away his Gretsch.
I remember I really hated to lose it, and I went back and they wouldn't give me any information to where it went or anything when I finally did get to where I could afford to get it. I've always had an eye out for it, but just never could find it.
Jack Sensentaffer, who now lives in Emporia, had seen the guitar in the pawn shop all those years ago and bought it.
Oh, I love that guitar. That was my favorite. I've got several, but that one is my favorite guitar. It's just the way it feels and plays. It takes a guitar player to understand that, but it just has a certain character.
When Sensentaffer bought it, the strap still had Dennison's name on it. One day, he decided to look up the original owner.
With the internet like it is today, I Googled him and found him. But
at first, he just returned the strap. But after seeing Dennison's reaction, the pair discussed a trade for a cheaper guitar.
And he said, well, only a guitar player would understand this, but he said, I've babysat that guitar for 35 years. And he said, it's your guitar. And he said, I don't want any difference. I just want you to have it back.
It was great. I watched him. He sat here on this chair and started playing that thing, and the look on his face, and he was playing it. It was like old friends. like he'd never been away from it or something. It's got God's hand all over it.
Oh, it just makes me feel good. Sometimes I just sit here and look at it.
So basically, the guy pawned this guitar because he had to buy glasses for his daughter and didn't have the money to do it, so he pawned it and then lost it before he could get it out of pawn. And they wouldn't tell him who they sold it to, and you know the story. I'm sure it's happened a million times, probably to a lot of you guys. But this guy actually, you know, his dream came true, and he ended up getting his guitar back after 35 years. The part of this story that I'm puzzled about is how, you know, this generous guy who ended up with this guitar just shows up one day and he's going to give him back his strap because, you know, it has his name on the strap, and he's just going to give him back the strap, and then he ends up just trading him for a lesser value guitar. That's what the part I really don't quite understand, why he didn't I mean, I guess I understand it. He's being a gentleman. You know, he's being nice about it and all, but I don't know. That's just, to me, I don't know why he wouldn't trade, you know, for the true value of the instrument. You know, it was rightfully his instrument at that point, so I don't get that part. But, you know, it's a feel-good story. What would you guys do? I want to open this up to the floor because I, for one, you know, of course, I'm in the guitar business as well, you know, and I kind of have to make profits on the things that I buy and sell. And on something like this, yes, I can totally see, you know, going to the guy's house and recognizing that, you know, he's in love with this instrument and it belongs with him. But I still don't think I would sell myself short on it. I think I would want, you know, to get my money back, but also to make a reasonable profit on it, you know. But that's me, because I have to make profit on instruments. But you know, this guy, he's playing for the love of it, and he's doing it for the love of it. And you know, I'm curious what you guys think on this. What would you do in this situation if you were the guy who had the guitar for the last 35 years? Would you, let's say, for instance, this was your number one guitar. You know, it'd become your number one, and you just fell in love with the thing. And what would you do? You know, you show up at this guy's house and you're giving him back the strap, and you're not even asking anything for the strap. You're just giving it to him. It's probably a $200 strap, you know, but it's got the guy's name on it, so you know, it belongs with him. I can understand the strap. But then when you give him the guitar, you know, I'm just curious. What do you guys think? What would you do in this situation? Okay, that's going to do it for the news. So I'm going to leave the news real short this week, and probably Shitpost Friday in general might end up being short this week, man, because we had a terrible ice storm last night. I'll show you some footage from the ice storm that we had. I woke up this morning, my power was out. It went out at 5:10 in the morning. And the house, surprisingly, did not get all that cold, and that's a testament to the fact that I had a bunch of insulation put in whenever we moved in here, so I'm sure that helped. But yeah, man, it was out for most of the day, and we didn't have any devices, and I really couldn't record much because my battery was low on my camera as well, so couldn't really do anything all day. And today's Thursday. You're watching this on Friday, I know, but I just wasn't able to record very much, so putting up what I can, and we'll just see how it goes. But that's going to end at least the news segment. But yeah, check out some of this footage that I got from this ice storm. This ice storm knocked out power for about 125,000 Louisvillians today. And I think they said that is in the top 10 all-time in power outage, you know, disasters or whatever. So that's pretty big day, actually. And then on top of that, after the ice started melting later on in the day, it started snowing. So we've got snow on the ground right now too. But luckily the power, as you can see, is back on in my house, and I'm able to do some work. And I've been messing around with this Mesa, and this Mesa, you're going to hear a story about it in another video, I'm sure. But anyway, yeah, let's move on to some other stuff. I want to show you guys some of the I'll show you some of the vinyl that I picked up this evening. This was an interesting one to me because this, let's see, this is by the Blue Ridge Rangers. Okay, I'd never heard of this in my life. The Blue Ridge Rangers. There are a lot of songs on here. Blue Ridge Mountain Blues, Jambalaya, which is a Hank Williams song. It's got some Jimmy Rogers songs on it, some Merle Haggard. There's the track listing if you can see it. But I like a lot of old country and stuff like that. But the thing I did not notice until I got it home was this. This thing is from 1973, and look who was the producer. John Fogerty. I had no idea he put out anything like this in 1973, so that'll be interesting to listen to. Also got this one. This is a Country Music Hall of Fame 2-disc set, and it's got a bunch of stuff. This is from 1980, so it's not any kind of early pressing. It's not going to be a valuable. It's actually, I'm sorry, it's a 3-disc set. But this has got a lot of, or no, maybe it is 2-disc. I'm sorry. But it's got a lot of good stuff, and I thought that might be fun to listen to a little later. Got this, Gordon Lightfoot. You Canadians, I'm sure, will know much about Gordon Lightfoot. He's probably one of your national heroes, I'm sure. I actually had the pleasure of interviewing Gordon Lightfoot once. Worked for a little music magazine, and he was coming to town doing a tour, and I got the phone number for his personal studio, and I called him up, and sure enough, Gordon Lightfoot answers the phone. I proceed to talk to Gordon Lightfoot for about the next hour, which was really cool. I can't even remember what all we talked about now. I was just kind of starstruck at the time because, I'd grown up with a lot of Gordon Lightfoot hits, including If You Could Read My Mind, stuff like that. Carefree Highway was another great one. He had a lot of good songs. Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgeralds. Just probably one of the best Canadian singer-songwriters, I would have to believe, and probably one of the most decorated, I'm sure, also in terms of awards for his music. But yeah, really cool. I wish I could find that interview. I usually save stuff like that, and I think I had a computer crash at one time. It took a bunch of stuff out, and probably took out that interview that I'd done with him, which is sad and unfortunate, but yeah, it happens, I guess. If I ever run across it, I'll post it. I'll put it up. Got some Laura Branigan. I don't know why. I just because I've already got one of her. I've already got one of her albums, Self Control. The song Self Control is just a weird ass song. It's probably one of that song was man, that would come on the radio when I was a little kid. I mean, real young, and it was always one of those like, whoa, this is like. There's some weirdness in that song. I don't know if it's the key that it's in. I think it's in a minor key for one. You don't hear that many pop songs in minor keys, but also it just had a very just a very kind of creepy vibe to it. And the video was actually perfect as well because I think they had. They had the whole Eyes Wide Shut kind of party with the masks and all this fucking crazy, that kind of stuff. And it really matched the vibe of the song really well. But yeah, just a strange song. It always made me feel strange as a kid. So I bought that album, and I saw this one as well, and I figured for 99 cents, I'll get this one too. It has the hit Gloria on it. That's the only one I recognize, but I might give this a spin a little later. See what I guess that's her first album, what that one's like. And then I got some of this guy's stuff, William Ackerman. And I'd never heard of him until now. He's on the same label as George Winston, the pianist. And it looks like he's got some violin and some English horn and cello and piano on this. Actually, George Winston plays on this one. But what intrigued me was it's pieces for guitar. So I'm guessing this is probably some like new agey kind of guitar pieces, so that should be interesting. William Ackerman, and I actually bought 3 of his albums. I got this one as well, which is It Takes a Year, and then I also got this one, which is Past Light. And it just looks like it might be some really interesting stuff, new age kind of stuff, I would imagine. But anyway, those are the records I picked. I actually picked those up just about an hour ago. on my way back home. I had to go to Lowe's and get some stuff to fix my humidifier, and that's going to be the subject of another video. You can look out for that one probably on channel 2. The humidifier that connects to my HVAC in my house, I had to, speaking of humidifiers and that's what actually brought up that last video. I was in the middle of ordering parts for that HVAC system, and thought, well, you know, it's that time of year, I might as well do a video on humidity and humidifiers and stuff like that. And if you haven't seen that video yet, you can go to my page down below and see that video. But yeah, also some other things I've gotten recently I want to show you. One of them is going to be our guitar of the week, but I'll reserve that one for just a minute. I want to show you a couple of other things that I've gotten instrument-wise. Here's one of my recent finds. This is a Banjolele. Where did I get this thing? I got this, I guess, about a month ago. The family took a trip over to Cincinnati, and we stayed the night over there, went to the zoo, and also on our way back home we kind of stopped and hit a few antique malls and things like that. And I found this at one of the antique malls, and oh, I didn't even notice this before, but it's got some little vintage stencils on it. I didn't even see those, of like an eagle and some fish, a bear or something maybe. Didn't even notice that before. But this one has got the tuner in the rim. It's built into the rim, so it's all enclosed. This is probably from about the 1920s. It's got probably the original owner's initials here, BF. And this is what is this? This is a La Pacific. Probably made about the 1920s. A lot of these were the teens and 20s. This was a new instrument in the 19-teens. The Hawaiian ukulele was getting very popular, and someone around, I think it was around 1915-ish or so, invented the banjolele, and the popularity of this instrument also took off. Probably the guy that you would know most if you're in England would be George Formby, who was an absolute genius on this thing. And the guy in the US that you would probably know the most who played one of these would be Roy Smeck. So those were the two probably biggest stars who played the banjolele. And they were stars throughout the 1930s pretty much and into the 40s. But yeah, this one is going to I'm going to have to do something here. We've got some damage. We got also, you know, we have missing bridge, we have a missing tailpiece, we have a missing nut, and we have 3 missing tuners. I'm gonna do something different with the tuners anyway, so I won't even use that one. But this will be the subject, I'm sure, of a video eventually. I collect these when I find them, and usually you can find these fairly cheaply, and they're eminently playable instruments. They're very fun to play when you get them going. You know, and as long as you can get them for the right price, they're always worth buying. I think I paid around $65 or something like that for this, and to me it's worth every penny. For something that's, you know, from the 1920s, that's going to be a playable instrument, even with the missing pieces, I can actually make a tail. I can buy a cheap tailpiece is probably what I'll end up doing, then make a bridge, and I can get some cheap tuners as well, and also make a bone nut for it. So yeah, that'll be cool. I also got this guy the other day at Goodwill, of all places. Yeah, I paid $25? Yeah, something like that. 25 bucks. This is obviously someone's project. It's built of very rudimentary woods in a very rudimentary way. In fact, you can see where they, you know, where they sawed the block right there. You know, so it's not all that well done. It's just a rudimentary instrument. Probably was supposed to be a kit or something like that, I would guess. But, you know, just really playable, really fun to play, and for 25 bucks, why the hell not? thing about these instruments is they're diatonic, so you can't really hit a wrong note. Except for this one. Some of them actually don't have that note. But yeah, fun instruments. Always fun to play a dulcimer. And this is actually called a mountain dulcimer, not to be confused with the hammered dulcimer. So yeah, those are a couple of the unusual instruments that I bought recently. And that leads us to the guitar of the week. The guitar of the week this week I found while trolling Craigslist for other stuff and just came across it and kind of couldn't pass it up. Let's check it out. Here it is. This is a 2005 Gibson Les Paul Classic. Great thing about these instruments is that they're just really well put together. They just they have I think some of the best looks in terms of the finishes that were available at the time. I think this one's either Honeyburst or Iced Tea Burst. I'm not sure which. It's missing the pick guard. It did not come with it, but the guy had upgraded the pickups and he put some 59 PAFs in this, and they sound freaking phenomenal. Way better than the original pickups. That was kind of the downfall of these classics, the first run of them. The ones they made through the 90s and up through the early 2000s, they put pickups in them that were just really overwound, hot ceramic pickups, and they don't sound all that great through certain amps. Now, if you're playing certain kinds of music, they sound awesome. But if you're trying to do bluesy stuff and if you do a lot of rolling off on your, your volume and tone to get your tones and stuff like that, or if you're playing through older amps, sometimes they don't sound quite right. But these pickups sound freaking phenomenal in this. These also had kind of an aged fret marker on them, so they're kind of greenish if you look at them. What else? Let's see. The tuners, he changed these tuners. He upgraded these as well. So those are not the original ones, but they are upgraded and they're very, very smooth. But yeah, man, but the thing about these is you can just pick them up for a song. You can get a 1960 Les Paul Classic reissue, and that's what they officially called these, was the 1960 Les Paul Classic reissue. You can get one of these, and they're not chambered either. None of these are chambered. They discontinued them about the time they started chambering the standards, and I don't think they ever chambered these. I could be wrong, but I don't think they did. But you can get a nice non-chambered, and this is actually light for a non-chambered Les Paul. This is really light. Really nice woods. I don't know. I mean, to me, these are just excellent guitars. Fantastic player guitars. You're going to get rosewood fretboards instead of the Richlite stuff that they're putting on there now. You're going to get all the neck binding on these. This has the exact same specs as the Les Paul standard of the time, and the only differences were the different colored fret markers. They were aged fret markers. It had cream color aged binding and aged pickup surrounds and an aged poker chip, and it also had aged tuner buttons, and let's see what else. I think that was about it, and those were about the only differences between this model and the Les Paul Standard. For a long time there, you could get the Les Paul Standard and a Les Paul Classic for exactly the same prices. In fact, they were routinely sell for around $1,600 just every time, just like clockwork. You buy one for a couple $100 less maybe if you're lucky, and then you could flip one for $1,600 every time, or $1,650, even $1,700 if it's really nice. Got this one for $12, and that's without the pick guard, and the case is non-original, but it's a nice hard shell case. But yeah, but with the upgrade pickups though, I did, you know, it's the right price. It's a good price to pay for something like this. It's going to be a good player. It's probably going to be used in a lot of demos, I would think, for a little while, and then I may eventually flip it. But you know, that's what I do. I'll say hello to something, play it for a little while. I always like to keep, you know, a Strat, a Tele, and a Gibson of some kind, you know, whether it's a Les Paul or an SG or some kind of Gibson type guitar, you know, like I've been using that PRS for a while for the humbucker sounds. But I like to keep stuff like that around if I'm just demoing amplifiers, and this is going to fit the bill really nicely for demoing certain amplifiers. So yeah, that'll be cool. So there we go, the guitar of the week. Now what I've got to do to this, and we may do this in another video, I do have some buzzing. And the reason I have buzzing is I have a couple of high frets up here. So I'm gonna have to adjust the truss rod, and I'm gonna have to level the frets, especially up in this area, and then I will crown all the frets. And this thing is gonna play like an absolute dream when I'm done. And we may, like I said, we may make a video out of that. Every time I also pick up a Les Paul or any kind of Gibson, I'm just reminded how much I love the 24 3/4 inch scale. For vibrato and stuff, and bends. But see what I mean? It's got some buzzing there. So I'm gonna have to give it a setup and all that stuff. But yeah, man, you know, it's always good to pick up a classic for around that kind of price. If you can get them for around, you know, $1,200 or $1,300, that's a buy any day of the week. I mean, especially when you consider that a new Les Paul traditional, which is probably about the closest I think they're making to what these are in specs. I don't think their new classics are really like this. They might be. I could be wrong about that. It's been so long since I've looked at any new Gibsons, really. I just, you know, I haven't been in the market for one. I used to get the Musician's Friend like clockwork, like every month or whenever, however often they put them out. And you'd always kind of sit on the shitter and drool at the, you know, at the new Les Pauls and everything. But I haven't looked at them in a long time. But yeah, if you want to hear this one plugged in, I will do that in another video. Like I said, I got to set it up anyway, so we'll probably just make another video of that. But yeah, that's the guitar of the week. A 2005 1960 reissue Les Paul Classic. Alright guys, that's probably going to be all the time we have for Shitpost Friday here on Channel 1. Please subscribe over to Channel 2, however. We will probably have some additional features and things that we've cut out of this over on Channel 2. Hit the bell to receive all notifications if you like these videos. And for now, y'all take care.